everybody got it.
All right, I have 6 o'clock. I'm gonna go ahead and call our meeting to order. Can I have a roll call, please?
Fitch is here.
Clifton here,
Stance is here.
and all present. Can I have a motion to approve the consent agenda? Motion by Diane, is there a second?
Second.
Second by Heather. All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, any opposed? Motion carries. Next, can I have a motion to enter into a public hearing regarding our proposed tax levy?
So,
Go ahead.
Motion from Heather, is
I
there
will
a second?
second it.
Any further discussion? If not, all in favor of entering public hearing indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Shelley, everything was published as required, is that correct?
It was, yes.
Okay. Did you receive any comment?
I did not.
Okay. I received 1 hand-delivered letter and 3 emails. That was the comment that I received. I don't know if either,
I received
Got the
1
same.
hand delivered and 3 emails.
okay. All right, Shelley, you have anything you wanna add?
I'll go over the hearing or the thing that was in the paper. So what this hearing or what this property tax levy was to do was to show what our current tax dollars are and our current levy rates versus if we were to keep the tax dollars the same, what would that do to our levies? And if we were to do the max at what we're allowed now with the dial back for growth, what that would look like in tax dollars. So currently, we bring in the general services fund, which is our general and our general supplemental fund. We bring in $5,894,837. If we were in with a levy rate of 5.59664, if we were gonna bring in those same amount of dollars, that levy would lower to 5.17454. If we do the max that we're allowed with the new legislature, we could levy 5.47475 and bring in $6,258,752. That is bringing in $363,915 more in general services for tax dollars. For the rural fund, we currently bring in 2.830,180, and we, that levy rate is at 3.8. If we were to bring in that same amount next year, it would be 3.51037. If we do the max that we're allowed, it would change our levy to 3.68932 and bring in $2,974,455, with an increase of $144,275.
Okay.
So total to that, if we do the max that we're allowed, we will bring in $508,190 more in tax dollars.
Okay.
Some of the budget askings that make up those dollars, we have the new askings, the ambulance department, for a new ambulance, that's $200,000. They are getting 2 new employees. Part of that, will offset some overtime from their existing employees, but it is increasing their wages by $99,162. So the ambulance department is increasing their budget by almost $300,000. The auditor's office is wanting to do an election equipment upgrade for our 8-year-old election equipment. Year 1 payment would be $17,500. Risk management is our property insurance costs. That's gonna go up. They're telling us to plan on up to a 40% increase in property insurance. That's $153,370. We had some employees that, due to changes in their spouse's coverage or additional things that had to adjust their health insurance that we haven't had to budget for in the past, those totals are $61,000. And then the attorney's office is wanting to do a software upgrade, which is $40,290. So if you add all those together, you get $571.322 in just those askings. If you also take into consideration union and non-union wages, and this doesn't include secondary roads because they're their own fund, so their money doesn't come out of the general or the rural, it's $76,984. Part of that is a new seasonal employee that you guys have allowed the treasurer's office to hire. That was a new one, and then of course, I had mentioned earlier the ambulance department and their additional employees. So those new askings make up well more than the addition in property tax dollars.
Thank you, Shelley.
You're welcome.
One thing I might add to that is of that $580,000, $268,000 is from new construction. That means properties that were not taxed in Madison County the prior years. So over half of that is being paid by new property owners or improvements to properties here in Madison County. So over half of that increase is being funded that way. I guess this is the time for public comment. We'll try to do this as orderly as possible, so raise your hand, I'll call you to the podium, you can state your name and address for the record, and anything else to add, Shelley?
Just in my head.
All right, who wants to go first? So everyone talk at once. Kevin, I saw your hand first.
Kevin Charter, 1411 Warren Avenue. I think I'm concerned about where we're at with the state of what we're proposing for a budget increase. I think that there's some things that we can trim back on. I don't believe that, voting machines, I don't believe should be a priority at this point in time. I think that we've got equipment that's probably sufficient to do it right now. One of the concerns is that if we purchase new equipment is it doesn't have, got Chinese components in it to start with is one of the issues we got with it, and it sounds like we don't have software that can be updated to, and I'm a little concerned about how we're gonna get all that done prior to the election. So I think we really need to step back on that, and that's a pretty significant amount of money that's we're looking at there. The other thing I think that's concerning, and it was concerning last year, and it continues to be a concern, I think, is that what we seem to think that we need to have for county salaries and wages. I think we way go beyond where we should be at with that. We talked about this a year ago with how it looks in the corporate world with, minimum of maybe a couple percent raises, and we always continue to seem to be in that 5% more every time our compensation board comes back with that. I don't think I think we well compensate our county employees, and I don't begrudge them having a decent salary, just like the rest of the world, but I think that when we keep talking 5% raises all the time and plus, I think we need to start crunching those budgets a little tighter on that. So I think in order to, and the ambulance and, I guess ambulance and sheriff vehicles, I don't know if those, I don't know where we're at on, are those really necessities, or are they just due to, we don't have the maintenance kept up on them? I mean, I'm not certain on that, but I know there's some huge expenditures there. We're talking, a couple $100,000 for, and so I think my concern is where we have, and I need to learn more about that again, better hear from you guys and what that is, but I think another thing is, when I looked at my statement that I got, the way I do my figures, it looks like we have a 5.8% increase in our proposed budget. And then I look at the rural additional, that looks like a 4.9% to me, the way I calculate what I've received in the mail. So I think if I come up with my calculation, I think we're more like a 10.7 increase.
The 5.8 was correct.
5.8, but how about the 4.9 that was in my rural additional?
All right, go ahead.
Those two aren't the
This
same.
isn't a question and answer, so I'm sorry.
Okay. So I don't think, those are concerns. I think I don't know that we should be looking at that kind of increase. I think we should probably freeze some of the budget, and then we start crimping it back, and people have to start living in some of the same means that the rest of the world lives in. I think we've been a little too lucrative with our budget. So I would really ask that you really take a serious consideration this go around. We discussed this last year, and it's like kind of went over deaf ears, and we just shoot it through, and I'm concerned that we'll do the same thing again. So I really hope that you'll take consideration this time around and not just shoot it through, and that we actually look at the budget. Thank you.
Thank you. Jessica, I saw you. We have, what, pardon? It's 10 minutes, but. Okay, let's keep the comments to a minimum. We have a lot of people here. Let's give everyone a chance to speak. Jessica, I saw your hand next when I called earlier. You're up.
Hello, my name is Jessica Hobbs. I live at 811 North 11th Avenue Circle in Winterset. I'm here today to object to this budget, which gives us another increase in our property taxes. Last year, Supervisors Clifton and Fitch raised our county taxes by 17%. This year, it is another 5.8%, which is the highest possible due to the caps provided under the new property tax law. With compounding, our county taxes have increased nearly 25% in the last 2 years. Clifton and Fitch also voted in favor of over a 12% increase in property taxes for the assessor's budget, which includes significant raises, 7 to 22%, and an extra $5,000 with no related expenditures to justify it. And I'm wondering why there was nothing posted on the county website regarding the assessor budget or the assessor hearing 2 weeks ago. This demonstrates a glaring lack of transparency. We do not need to give the assessor a $5,000 slush fund. We do not need to spend $100,000 on new election equipment that has old software on it, and it is certified to 30-year-old standards. We do not need to give more salary increases for elected officials and government employees, given the average 10 to 19% increases given last year. Some local officials are upset with the Iowa legislature for putting caps on spending. Madison County spending is an example of why those caps are needed. Supervisors, I implore you, please go back and sharpen your pencils and give the taxpayers, your constituents, some relief. Thank you.
Who else would like to speak?
Hi, I'm Mary Cat from Bigelow and I'm short. 1937 to 1175th Street, Winterset. I appreciate Shelley's explaining the details of the breakdown a little bit. I came up with the same as you guys did, a 5.8% increase. And the letter I thought was deceiving. I've got a little thing. The property tax that we pay is the value of the property times the mill rate. And yes, on the letter you lowered the mill rate, but it's still higher than the effective rate, which is what it would have to be equal to what it was last year. So if you read the letter and was confused, the effective rate is what would be a zero increase in our property tax, the way I understand it. So that came out to be a 5.8% increase. When I look at everybody standardly gets a 2 to 3% increase in wage a year. I looked at the inflation rate last year. It came out 3.4. For us to do a 5.8 seems high. I would like to see it to be around the 3.4% increase, which is what your residents are getting, and they have to pay the tax out of their funds. After Shelley talked and said that much was going for the ambulances, you know, of your increase, I had the same increase, $363,915, and you know, if a lot of that's going for the ambulances, she was talking 200,000. So you're buying an ambulance and depreciating it all in 1 year, or Section 179, doing it all in 1 year and not spreading it out over 5. Could you do the payments over like 5 years and have the property tax? You have to take it all in 1 year is my question. That would help maybe with the budgeting and lower that increase that you were needing a lot. When I looked at the rural edition, it was close to 5% increase also. So I would still also like to propose only a 3% increase instead of a 5%. I know your wages go up and things go up and you need some increase, but I would just like it to be similar to what your residents get. Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
You want
All right, who else would like to speak this evening?
Do we want to receive and file that? Oh,
I don't think you need to.
We can receive it.
Teri Kaczinski, 1437 Heritage Avenue in Earlham. I'm here today to formally object to our county property taxes in this current county budget. Last year, we were hit with over a 17% increase in the county government's portion of taxes, and now you're proposing another 5.8% increase. This means you're taking almost 25% more out of our pockets in just the last 2 years. We all protested last year's increase and it fell on deaf ears. And let's be honest, the only reason you're limiting tax increases to the 5.8% is because that's the maximum you're allowed under the new law. Nevertheless, there are several things in the budget that should be removed as they are not necessary. Spending $100,000 on new voting equipment, when it's certified, it's the same 30-year-old standards, and it has obsolete software. It's unjustifiable. Unnecessary salary increases for non-union employees who already received substantial raises last year are wasteful. These employees are already at the average pay for the counties of our size and tax base. The inclusion of a $5,000 auditor bonus is illegal under Iowa Code 331907 and must be removed. The taxpayers also paid for this bonus in last year's budget. Elected official salaries can only be determined by the compensation board, and this bonus was not recommended by them. So it needs to be removed from this year's budget, as well as the taxpayers refunded for what we paid in last year's budget. I will include a formal written objection and a copy of the page 87 from the Decatur County 2021 audit by the state auditor's office confirming this finding. This was also reconfirmed in a 2022 Floyd County budget appeal found by the state appeal board, and I'm including a copy of this as well. We elected you to represent us, not to empty our wallets. It's time you start listening to the folks who put you in office, and let's work together to alleviate the burdens imposed by this budget and ensure a brighter future for our community. Thank you.
All right, who else would like to speak?
Do we need to receive and file that? Receive them.
Yes, up front.
Jed Terhaar, 2046 Adair Madison Avenue. I would like to ask for the tax increase to go as high as possible this year. April Fool. Just letting that rest on your face. Yeah, it's on. I don't want to sound like a broken record. I'll keep it short, but Diane, Phil, Heather, I voted for each one of you, so I count as a constituent, I guess, at that point. The other week, and you've voted on salary wage increases. I've spent a lifetime in corporate USA, small corporations, international. I can tell you, without a doubt, merit increases run about 2.5 to 3.25 for years, right? Now, if someone gets an increase more than that, it's a change in job, it's not just part of their annual raise, it's a change in responsibilities. These are major changes, titles, something like that. So I don't understand how we're having this conversation the second year in a row. We all like more money, but we also like to keep our money at home when that comes to us. And so we're asking you, again, I'm not going to repeat everything that everybody said, but we're asking you, and I think we're showing up. I don't know if there's anyone that was raising their hand for my April Fool's joke, but you can see us here. I hope you listen. You need to live within your means. Yes, I know things have gone up over the last few years. Those spikes were a couple of years ago. The spikes aren't there now, not near like that, with the post-COVID. So I think we're all pleading that you keep our tax rate down, and also the, I don't know, I call it sneaky, but you can raise the value of our property and get more money also. So both those things have to be managed. I would just ask that you would listen to your constituents on this and really urge you to not pass what you have and go back and refigure things. Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, ma'am.
My name is Lisa Alessandro. I live at 721 East Court Avenue. I also have a business at 52 East Court Avenue. I do not own that building, but I occupy it. I am here to represent two sides of the coin. The business side and a personal side. I'm going to talk about the business side first. We're just coming out of winter. We are a tourist town. I love that we are a tourist town. A lot of people come here for a lot of different things, but a lot of people live here. And between November and April, we depend on the people that live here. And if they don't have money to spend, they stay at home, and it hurts the local business. There have been local businesses that are in trouble right now. That beautiful building at the end of my block is for sale because that business is in trouble, because it's for tourists, because local people can't afford to shop there, okay? They need their money. And I understand everybody needs money. So now we're gonna go a little more personal, okay? I live 8 blocks down the road from my business in a beautiful home, okay? I am 55 years old. I've owned 3 homes in my lifetime. And last month was the first time I couldn't afford to pay for it. Over half of my mortgage payment goes to taxes. Madison County taxes, Winterset taxes, because I get hit with both. Do not raise these taxes again. There are other alternatives to go and get this money. We need a no ambulance? Wonderful, let's do a fundraiser. Because this county raised $1 million to rebuild a bridge, to bring tourists that spend their money in this town, to employ the people that live in this town. Your job is to be our council members. Our job is to provide food and entertainment and goods to the people that come from all over the world to our town, okay? We'd like to live here and work here instead of watching all of the money go to people who live in other counties because nobody can afford to live here. I'd like to afford to live here. Thank you.
Anyone else wish to comment?
Kevin Seward, 2985 318th Street, Truro. So I won't repeat a lot of what everybody said. I'm pretty much in agreement with everyone before me. And I realize that the job you have is really a pretty thankless job. And I've served on my share of boards that would agree with that. With a prior speaker, I've spent 39 years in the corporate world. I agree. You get 0 to 2% in general based on cost of living increases, no matter what kind of a year the company's had. And if you want a better raise, you get a better job. And so, a couple things I'll bring out is, we're not only getting hit by county taxes, DMAC taxes are awful. School district taxes, once again, we get hit with those. We have a great local hospital, but their taxes go up and they're affiliated with Mercy now, so how much of our taxes had Mercy's shareholders? Once again, that's a factor that impacts everyone here in this room.
Election equipment, 8-year-old, wow, that's 2 election cycles. I mean, so are we doing that every 8 years? The vehicles I drive are 9 years old and get along just fine. So I think as a county, we have to identify our wants versus our needs. Do we want to spend $250,000 on an ambulance? Or do we need to spend $250,000 on an ambulance? I mean, rounding up, you said 200,000, I realize that. Also, what's going to happen, I think everybody would agree, property values are inflated right now and are going to correct. So what happens when property values correct? And I haven't heard any discussion from that regards as well. So I think we do need to go back, look at, because the dollars you're spending are taxpayer dollars. So, how do we best handle that? How do we best handle these taxes for retirees? I mean, as they keep going up and, if we looked at returns on 401ks and such, better lately, but they've done their share of correcting as well. So keep all these things in mind as you look at the budget, and try to come up with a budget that pays for what the county needs, not necessarily what every special interest group wants. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else like to speak?
Mike Diehl, 2364 Bittersweet Avenue. My wife and I moved here 3 years ago from Colorado because the property taxes were low. We looked at all the counties around and we said, well, we're not gonna live in Polk, we're not gonna live in West Des Moines, Urbandale, whatever, because the taxes were affordable here. That's one of the reasons we chose Madison County. That probably is the reason we chose Madison County. We have kids here that live clear out in Bondurant. We have kids that live in Ankeny. We can't afford to live there. We lived in Colorado, we had a $600,000 house and our taxes were probably about $5,000 a year. Some of these people here are paying that for $300,000 and $400,000 houses.
Yeah.
Right?
More than that.
I think it's time to wake up. You're gonna lose people that wanna come to Madison County if you keep raising property taxes.
My name is Colleen Peterson and I'm at 320 Northwest 7th Street in Earlham.
I'm sorry, would you mind? I didn't catch it. Would you mind repeating your name?
Colleen Peterson.
Okay, thank you.
I just want to address the property value issue. And I think that we are not being forward-looking enough, because one of these gentlemen made a very good point. I spent 40 years in the mortgage banking industry, cleaned up the messes from the 2008 fallout. And right now, I'm still in contact with a lot of people that are still in the business, and we have a tsunami of foreclosures on the horizon. And ultimately, property values are gonna go down. Forward looking, what happens when those property values go down and you have a budget that will never, the property values will never support as they go down. And I think that's something, as you're looking at the budget and thinking about where you go in the future, we have to be realistic and realize that maybe there's a chance that budget may have to be lowered even in the future, maybe not excluding this year. And certainly we'd like to see it lowered this year, but going forward, that's a distinct possibility, because I don't think it's gonna be avoidable.
Thank you. Anyone else wish to speak?
Cindy Flewellyn at 3191 Cumming Road. First and foremost, because you have such a great showing, I'd like to do something. Anybody not object to this? Raise your hand. Who all objects to this? Raise your hand. That's what you need to see.
Amen, sister.
Right? That's what you need to see. You have people showing up that care. I appreciate that you're allowing everybody to speak. I think it's a little bit mind-boggling what I've learned from a couple people in regards to, we've broken the law with a bonus. That is derelict of duty. That is people not auditing appropriately, not doing your job for us. I appreciate you pointing out that people in certain situations are the ones you're getting a lot of your increases from in regards to new homes, updates. That's something to think about too, is everybody has to put their part in to these items. I just wanted to make sure you understood, these are people objecting. Thanks.
All right, anyone else wish to speak?
I don't want to trip over anything. Oh, it's wireless, nice. Jed Terhaar, 1374 State Highway 92. Most of the points that have come to my mind have already been spoken, so I'll kind of stick to what's fresh. I want to talk about agriculture. So we had a great representation from the local tourism and is certainly very important to our community, but agriculture is also important to our community. And so a lot of the taxes that we're seeing on the agricultural land is putting pressure on farmers as well. I'm sure there's some people that are involved in agriculture in this room. And so it's a fixed cost, right? So we get to take what the market gives us for a price. We don't control all of our outputs, right? We can't say, you know what, today we're gonna raise the price of our Reuben sandwich 8% to cover some costs that came to us from something like a tax bill, right? We don't. We take what it's okay right now, but as several people have mentioned, that comes around, and as this fixed cost increases, it makes it very difficult to continue farming and utilizing the land. Okay, so I want to bring that up to also say I very much object. I would like us to stay within our budget, and why not talk about a reduction of budget? Everyone's been trying to be very respectful, and I will remain in that situation, but we are seeing times in my job, we farm, we have cattle, we're reducing budgets, okay? We're not like, oh, well, we don't get this. We're saying, how are we gonna do our job with less? And when we don't have the money to get a new piece of equipment on the cattle side or the farming side, we figure out how to make it work, right? That's just what we do, okay? And so that would be also my proposition, is not only would I like to see this be very, very strongly considered, I would like to see you guys consider putting forward a plan to show us how you might become more efficient in the future. So, thank you guys.
Thank you. Anyone else wish to speak? All right, seeing none, I'd ask for a motion to adjourn the public hearing.
So moved.
Motion by Diane, is there a second?
Second.
Second by Heather, all in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries, the public hearing is adjourned. Now I'd ask for a motion to adjourn our meeting.
So.
Motion by Diane, second by Heather, all in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, any opposed? Motion carries, we are adjourned, thank you.